Hey, if you haven't seen the previous episodes of this series, I definitely recommend checking them out, as this is episode 5 of my How to Draw series, where I'll be sharing my tips and tricks for shading and lighting. Another term I use for shading and lighting is rendering. The first definition that comes up when you Google rendering in art is, rendering is the process which converts the scene of 3D objects and lights into a 2D image. This term is more often used for the process in which 3D models are finalized, but I found that 2D artists use it as well to describe the shading and lighting of their pieces, since this step can often make your art look more 3D or realistic. I think this article explains it best. In 2D, whether digital or traditional, the act of rendering generally refers to when an artist finalizes their piece by adding shading to it. Shading refers to the act of simulating the lighting within the scene being shown. The word rendering is not as widespread in 2D digital art creation as it is when creating art with 3D software, but there are certain steps that can be defined as such. Okay, enough talking about what rendering is, let's talk about how I go about drawing it. Alright, so now we've got her all colored, and there is still another step that we have to do, and that is the shading and lighting. So I'm actually going to change this background color real quick. I'm going to make a new layer underneath the color layer. I think I'm going to go for a green. Or no, maybe I'll do like a blue. And now I'm going to make a new folder. And I'm going to select these 3 layers. The way I select multiple layers at a time, I click the top layer that I'm going to select. I hold Shift and I click the bottom layer, and this will select all 3 layers. I drag those into the little folder, so they're all kind of their own little layer, and then I'm going to make a layer above the folder. Gonna clip it to the folder, and I'm going to set it to multiply. These are layer settings right here. And it makes the layers do different things. So when I have something on multiply, it's not going to color things normally. It's going to make them darker than usual. So see how I selected my yellow, and then I'm just kind of coloring over Yoki, and you can see how the multiply layer affects the folder, and it makes the colors darker. So I'm going to use a nice blue, I think, to shade. I like to use colors. I don't usually shade with black. I think the multiply layer doesn't really affect black. That's because black is the darkest color, so there's not really a way that you can have it be on multiply. So I'm just going to use blue. This is a tip that I learned a long time ago, is to always shade and light using colors. This is of course just how I do it. If you do want to shade with black, that's totally fine. It's just a tip that I've found has made my drawings pop a lot more. See how this blue right here, I feel like looks so much better than if I were to shade with black. Although I do believe the black can maybe give your character a more cartoony look, I just prefer the blue. I feel like it makes the art pop a lot more. So I'm going to continue. I always use the lasso fill tool when I'm shading. I feel like it's very easy and quick. Alright, one thing I noticed that I haven't talked about yet is how you can color and draw with a transparent brush. So basically right here I have my 2 colors, and I can do orange, I can do blue, and there is actually this third bit right here, and if you click this, it will make it so when you draw, it is basically an eraser. It's useful because I can lasso fill an eraser basically. So I wanted to just erase a little bit right there because some light's going to be shining on it. Yeah, I just wanted to talk about that. It's another useful little thing, how you can basically color with a transparent brush. Okay, I also encountered a little problem that if you encounter this, I have a little tip for it. So I'm trying to select just this little square right here. But when I click it, it selects all of this over here. And that is because of this thing called tolerance. So I'm on my wand tool, and you can see the tolerance is at 23. I think this is pretty high. So basically what tolerance does is it thinks that when I select this gray right here, it selects all of the colors similar to it as well. So if I turn the tolerance down and I select this, it will only select that. If I turn it up and select this, it's going to select everything, because I've basically said that everything is the same by making it 100%. If I just set it to 15, it thinks all these grays are the same because they are pretty similar to each other, but it doesn't think this orange and yellow are the same because they are quite different from each other. But yeah, I was just trying to select this little thing and it was giving me some trouble, and that's because of the tolerance. So I'm going to turn the tolerance down, and now I have no problem selecting it. Alright, and I've got everything about shaded, and I'm going to lower the opacity because I think it's just a bit dark. And then I'm going to do something that makes lighting very easily. So I'm going to select this entire folder. The way you select a layer, basically, is you hold down Command and you select the layer, and see how it just selects just whatever is on that layer. And you can see it didn't select the line art, but if I select the folder, it will include the line art because the line art is in the folder. Now I'm going to make a new layer, clip it, and I'm going to invert the selection. I believe that is this button right here. For me, I've set a hotkey where the invert selection button is U. So I'm going to press U, and then I'm going to choose maybe a bright yellow, and I'm going to Shift Delete. So as you can see over here, it has filled in all of the pixels around Yoki. So I'm going to deselect, and then I'm going to move this layer. So I'm going to move it down just a little, and you can see now that it almost is acting as lighting. And the way I can make it look even more like lighting is setting this layer to add glow, and that's going to give it a nice lit looking setting. And I'm also going to lower the opacity just because I don't want it so bright. Now I'm going to do another add glow layer. Same thing where I'm clipping it to the folder, and I'm just going to take my G pen and I'm going to add in some places where I think there should be light. Some tips for lighting: I think you should think about where your light is coming from and imagine how that's going to affect certain areas of your characters. So for me, I'm thinking light is coming from this direction. So I'm going to be kind of lighting with that idea in mind. Okay, and I'm going to lower the opacity of that. And for my eyes, this is going to be a little hard since my eye is not entirely visible, and I did make her winking. But I'm going to make a new layer. I'm going to clip it, and I'm going to make this one overlay. And I'm going to use the brightest white, hashtag FFFFFF. And I'm going to select the eye. I'm going to go to lasso fill, and I'm just going to give her like this little light on the bottom of her eye. It makes the eye look very reflective, and I'm going to lower the opacity a little bit. That is what I do on all of the eyes that I draw. I always put that overlay, and then I'm going to make a new layer, going to make it add glow, and I'm going to give her some little eye shines. I like to do one white eye shine, and then I like to do a color, so I might do a blue since the background is blue. Then I'm going to do Command C and Command V, and I'm going to make this eye shine look very glowy by going to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. For me, I have a hotkey for that. It is Command F, and look, it just makes it nice and glowy. So I'm going to click OK, and I'm going to lower the opacity, but now it's kind of glowing, which is cool. And let's see, on the paw pads, I'm going to do another layer. I'm going to select this color, and I just want to make them look kind of shiny. So I'm going to give them little dots. I think this makes the paws look very shiny. I'm going to lower the opacity so it's not so overpowering. And I'm going to give the nose a little bit of shiny as well. I think I might erase the general lighting I have on it since I'm going to be giving it some special shinies. Awesome, that looks really good. And I also want to do that with the tongue. And this, I call these like special shines just because it makes them look a little bit more bubbly and defined. And I think that's important for the nose, tongue, and paw pads. Oh, and I'm going to make another layer. I'm going to set that to add glow, and I'm going to draw a little shiny on her winking eye. I'm going to do the same thing, duplicate the layer, and then Command F so I can make it glow. Finally, for shading, overall, I'm going to put this underneath all the add glows. And I'm going to make a new layer, a multiply layer. I'm going to select this background color. I'm going to go to my gradient. And for me, that is the hotkey G. I'm going to click this foreground to transparent so that it's just the color kind of tapering off. And I'm going to give her a little gradient. I'm going to lower the opacity, make a new layer, make it add glow. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that blue. And that light is just going to come from where I've imagined the light is coming from. Finally, I'm going to select this folder. I'm going to click this background layer. I'm going to do new layer, make this white, and I'm going to click Command B. And that is going to make a border around her. This is super useful. I use this tool all the time. If you go to Edit and then Outline Selection, that can also pull up the Create Border window. And let's see, I think 10 is probably good. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna do more than 10. I'm gonna do 20 pixels maybe. And then I'm going to select the folder and the border, make another layer underneath the border, select the background color, set that layer to multiply. I'm going to hit Shift Delete, so I'm filling that in, as you can see over on my Layers tab. And I'm going to deselect, and I'm going to move that to give her a little shadow. Look at that. And then finally, I'm going to sign my name. I actually have like a preset signature that I just drag in, but for the sake of the video, I will sign it. So oh, that's not looking good at all. Let me turn the stabilization off, and I'll do this. I'm gonna set that layer to overlay. I always like to put my signature on overlay. And there we go. That is all done. Completed Yoki drawing. This drawing took me about 2 hours, and it's just a simple one, so that's why I wanted to do a little simpler drawing, just to show you all like my full process. I'll be doing more detailed how to draw videos in the future, such as how to draw furries and how to draw dragons, and really go into detail about how to draw those rather than the general process that I've done. So now that you understand my process, it'll be a little bit easier to really go into detail about how exactly I draw more specifically and more detailed pieces. Thank you so much for watching. I had a lot of fun doing this video, and if you'd like to see more videos like this, please like and subscribe, and have a great day.